The stars were cold and silent as Park Seung-woo guided his old ship through the darkness of space. His vessel was called the Wanderer, and it was not a pretty thing. The paint was chipped. The engines made strange sounds. The heating system worked only half the time. But it was his ship, and it kept him alive. Seung-woo was a cargo runner. He moved supplies from one planet to another. Medical equipment, food, machine parts. Nothing exciting. Nothing important. Just enough work to pay for fuel and food. That was his life, and he had accepted it long ago. He was human. And in this galaxy, that meant very little. Humanity had joined the galactic sovereignty 50 years ago. When the first alien ships arrived at Earth, humans had expected wonder. They had expected respect. Instead, they found that they were among the weakest species in the galaxy. Other races had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Humans were newcomers, primitives. Most aliens looked at humans the way humans once looked at insects. Seung-woo did not complain about this. He had learned that complaining changed nothing. He simply worked, kept his head down, and survived. That was enough. On this night, he was hauling medical supplies to a mining colony in the Outer Rim. The route was long and boring. He had been flying for 6 days, and he had 4 more days to go. His only company was the hum of the engines and the endless black of space outside his window. He was eating a cold meal of rice and dried meat. When the alarm went off, the sound was sharp and loud. Seung-woo jumped to his feet and ran to the control panel. His fingers moved quickly over the buttons as he checked the sensors. Distress signal. It was coming from a ship about 2 hours away from his current position. The signal was weak, which meant the ship was badly damaged. Seung-woo pulled up more information and felt his stomach drop. The ship was a luxury cruiser. A big one. The kind that carried rich and powerful people. And according to his sensors, it was under attack. Raiders. Seung-woo sat back in his chair and stared at the screen. Raiders were common in the Outer Rim. They attacked ships, stole cargo, and killed anyone who resisted. Sometimes they took prisoners for ransom. They were dangerous, well-armed, and completely without mercy. His ship had no weapons. He was one man with a cargo freighter. If he went to help, he would probably die. The smart thing to do was to ignore the signal. Change course. Fly away. Let someone else handle it. The galaxy was full of military ships and patrol vessels. Someone would come. Someone always came. But even as he thought this, Seung-woo knew it was a lie. He was in the Outer Rim. There were no patrol ships here. No military bases. No one was coming to help those people. He closed his eyes and thought about his life before space. He had served in Earth's emergency response corps for 8 years. He had pulled people from burning buildings. He had dug survivors out of earthquake rubble. He had carried injured children through flooded streets. That was who he was. That was who he had always been. He could not ignore people in danger. He had tried once, years ago. He had walked past someone who needed help. The guilt had nearly destroyed him. He had promised himself he would never do that again. Seung-woo opened his eyes and made his decision. He changed course toward the distress signal. The 2 hours felt like forever. Seung-woo prepared as best as he could. He had no weapons on his ship, but he had tools. A plasma cutter for working on metal. A heavy wrench. A knife he kept for cutting food. It was not much, but it was something. He also had his body. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the fastest. But they had one advantage that few other species understood. Humans could keep going when other species would fall. They could push through pain. They could fight when they should be dead. It was not magic. It was simply how human bodies worked. Seung-woo did not know if it would be enough. But he would try. When he finally reached the luxury cruiser, his heart sank. The ship was called the Eternal Dawn, and it was burning. Holes covered its hull. Escape pods floated nearby, but most of them were dark and still, dead. A raider ship was docked to the cruiser's side like a parasite feeding on a dying animal. Sun Wu brought the Wanderer around to the other side of the cruiser, looking for a place to dock. He found an emergency airlock that was still working. He connected his ship and stepped inside. The smell hit him first. Smoke, burning metal, blood. He moved through the corridors carefully, his plasma cutter in one hand and his knife in the other. Bodies lay on the floor. Crew members, guards. They had fought back, but they had lost. Sun Wu felt anger rise in his chest. These people had done nothing wrong. They had simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And now they were dead. He heard voices ahead. Rough voices, laughing. He crept forward until he reached a large room that looked like a meeting hall. Through the doorway, he could see them. Raiders. There were about 8 of them, big and armed with energy rifles, and in the center of the room, surrounded by raiders, were 3 young women. They were Valorans. Sun Wu recognized the species immediately. Tall, with silver skin and eyes that glowed like soft lights. The Valorans were members of the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Their emperor ruled over hundreds of worlds. These 3 women wore expensive clothes, now torn and dirty. They stood close together, holding hands. The oldest one stood in front of the other 2, her chin raised in defiance. The youngest one was crying silently. One of the raiders grabbed the oldest woman by the arm and pulled her forward. She did not scream. She did not beg. She simply stared at him with cold hatred in her glowing eyes. "The Emperor will pay a fortune for you," the raider said. "Or maybe we will keep you for ourselves. What do you think, Princess?" Princess Sun Wu felt the word hit him like a blow. These were not just Valorans. These were royalty. The daughters of the Emperor himself. He should leave. This was too big for him. Too dangerous. He was just a cargo runner. Just a human. He had no business being here. But he looked at the 3 women. He saw the fear they were trying to hide. He saw the tears on the youngest one's face. He saw the oldest one preparing to fight, even though she had no chance. They needed help. Sun Wu took a deep breath. He tightened his grip on his plasma cutter. He said a silent prayer to whatever gods might be listening. Then he stepped into the room. The raiders did not notice Sun Wu at first. They were too busy laughing at the 3 women. Too busy making cruel jokes. Too sure that no one would come to help. That was their first mistake. Sun Wu moved fast. He had learned long ago that speed was more important than strength. If you hit first, you had the advantage. If you waited, you died. He aimed his plasma cutter at the nearest raider and pressed the trigger. The tool was meant for cutting metal, not fighting. But at close range, it worked just as well as a weapon. The beam of hot plasma struck the raider in the back. He fell without making a sound. The other raiders turned. Their eyes went wide with surprise. They had expected guards, soldiers, not a single human with a cutting tool. That surprise gave Sun Wu 2 more seconds. He used them well. He threw his knife at the second raider. It was not a perfect throw. The knife spun through the air and struck the raider in the shoulder. But it was enough to make him drop his weapon and scream in pain. Sun Wu ran forward. He ducked under the arm of a 3rd raider and hit him in the throat with his elbow. The raider choked and stumbled backward, but now the others were recovering. One of them raised his energy rifle and fired. The shot missed Sun Wu by inches. He felt the heat of it pass by his face. He did not stop. He could not stop. If he stopped, he would die. He grabbed a metal chair from the floor and threw it at the shooter. The chair was heavy, and his aim was good. It hit the raider in the chest and knocked him down. 4 raiders down. 4 still standing. The odds were still bad. Very bad. The largest raider charged at Sun Wu with a roar. He was twice Sun Wu's size, with thick arms and a face full of scars. Sun Wu tried to dodge, but he was not fast enough. The raider grabbed him by the neck and lifted him off the ground. Sun Wu could not breathe. The world started to go dark around the edges. He kicked and struggled, but the raider's grip was like iron. Then he remembered the plasma cutter still in his hand. He pressed it against the raider's arm and activated it. The raider screamed and let go. Sun Wu fell to the floor, gasping for air. He did not waste time. He rolled to his feet and hit the injured raider in the face with the plasma cutter. The raider fell. 5 down. Something hit Sun Wu from behind. Pain exploded in his side. He looked down and saw blood spreading across his shirt. A knife. One of the raiders had stabbed him. The pain was terrible. It felt like fire burning inside his body. Any normal person would have fallen, would have given up, but Sun Wu was not normal. He was human, and humans did not stop just because they were hurt. He turned and grabbed the raider who had stabbed him. With strength he did not know he had, he lifted the raider and threw him against the wall. The raider hit the wall hard and did not get up. 6 down. 2 left. The remaining 2 raiders looked at each other. They looked at Sun Wu, the strange human covered in blood, still standing, still fighting. They saw their friends on the floor. They saw death in Sun Wu's eyes. They ran. They ran back toward their ship, leaving their weapons behind. Sun Wu watched them go. He wanted to chase them. He wanted to make sure they could never hurt anyone again. But his body would not move. The knife wound was too deep. He was losing too much blood. He fell to his knees. The 3 women rushed toward him. The oldest one reached him first. Up close, she was even more beautiful than he had realized. Her silver skin seemed to glow in the dim light. Her eyes were like stars. "You are hurt," she said. Her voice was cold, but there was something else in it. Surprise, perhaps. Or confusion. "I know," Sun Wu said. He tried to smile, but it came out as a grimace. "We need to leave. More raiders might come. Who are you?" The middle sister asked. She was looking at him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "Why did you help us?" "My name is Park Sun Wu. I am a cargo runner. I heard your distress signal." He coughed, and blood came out of his mouth. "Can you walk?" "My ship is this way." The youngest sister was crying again, but this time she was also smiling. "You came for us," she said. "You really came for us." Sun Wu did not understand why that was so strange. Of course he came. They were in danger. What else would he do? The oldest sister put her arm around him and helped him stand. She was strong despite her thin frame. "Lean on me," she said. "I am Princess Yuri. These are my sisters, Ha-Yun and Ba-Ora. We are daughters of Emperor Kale." Sun Wu nodded. He had already guessed this. "Nice to meet you," he said. It was a strange thing to say in such a situation, but his mind was not working very well. The blood loss was making him dizzy. They moved through the burning ship together. Yuri supported Sun Wu on one side. Ha-Yun walked ahead, watching for danger. Ba-Ora stayed close behind, her hand holding onto Sun Wu's shirt like a child afraid to lose her parent. The journey back to the Wanderer felt like it took forever. Sun Wu's vision was blurry. His legs felt like they were made of stone. Several times, he almost fell. Each time, Yuri held him up. "Keep moving," she said. Her voice was firm. "Do not die. I forbid it." Sun Wu wanted to laugh. A princess was forbidding him to die. As if death cared about royal orders, but somehow her words gave him strength. He kept moving, one step at a time, one breath at a time. They reached the Wanderer. The airlock opened, and they stumbled inside. Sungwoo hit the button to disconnect from the cruiser. The engines roared to life, and the ship pulled away from the burning wreck. Only then did Sungwoo allow himself to fall. He collapsed on the floor of his cargo bay, surrounded by boxes of medical supplies. The irony was not lost on him. He was bleeding to death on top of medicine that could save other people. The three princesses knelt beside him. Ha-Yoon opened one of the medical boxes and started pulling out supplies. Her hands moved quickly and confidently. She had training in medicine, it seemed. "This will hurt," she said. "I know," Sungwoo replied. She began to treat his wound. The pain was incredible. Sungwoo gritted his teeth and tried not to scream. Beora held his hand, squeezing it tight. "You will live," Yuri said. She was watching him with those strange glowing eyes. "I have decided it." Sungwoo looked at her. Despite everything, despite the pain and the blood and the fear, he felt something warm in his chest. Something like hope. "Then I guess I have no choice," he said. And against all odds, he smiled. Outside the window, the stars continued their endless dance. The raider ship did not follow. Perhaps those two survivors had told the others what happened. Perhaps they were afraid. They should be afraid, Sungwoo thought, because he had made a promise to himself. He would get these three women home safely, no matter what, no matter who stood in his way. He closed his eyes and let the darkness take him. But even in unconsciousness, he did not let go of Beora's hand. He had answered the call. He had saved the princesses. Now he just had to survive long enough to finish the job. Sungwoo woke up 3 days later. He was lying on a thin mattress in the corner of his cargo bay. His side was wrapped in clean bandages. The pain was still there, but it was dull now, bearable. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. His head spun and his stomach felt sick. "Do not move so fast," a voice said. It was Ha-Yoon, the middle princess. She was sitting on a cargo box nearby, reading something on a small screen. "You lost a lot of blood. Your body needs time to heal. Where are we?" Sungwoo asked. His voice was rough and dry. "Still in the outer rim. We are heading toward Valoran space." Ha-Yoon put down her screen and looked at him. "Your ship is slow. It will take 9 more days to reach our territory." 9 days. Sungwoo nodded slowly. That was a long time. A lot could happen in 9 days. "Your sisters?" he asked. "Yuri is in the cockpit, watching the sensors. Beora is sleeping." Ha-Yoon paused. "She has nightmares. She screams in her sleep." Sungwoo felt his heart hurt. But Beora was so young. She should not have to experience such things. He forced himself to sit up, ignoring the pain and dizziness. "I need to check the ship." "You need to rest," Ha-Yoon said firmly. "The ship comes first. If something breaks down out here, rest will not save us." Ha-Yoon stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded and helped him stand. The next few days passed slowly. Sungwoo checked every system on the ship. He fixed a small leak in the fuel line. He repaired a broken sensor. He cleaned the air filters. The work was hard, especially with his wound, but it kept him busy. It kept him from thinking too much. The three princesses watched him constantly. At first, they watched him with suspicion, especially Yuri. She did not trust him. Sungwoo could see it in her eyes every time she looked at him. "Why did you help us?" she asked one evening. They were in the small kitchen area, eating a simple meal of dried food and water. "Tell me the truth. What do you want?" Sungwoo looked at her. He was tired of this question. "I already told you. I heard your distress signal. I came to help." "No one helps without wanting something in return," Yuri said. "That is how the galaxy works. Everyone wants power. Everyone wants money. Everyone wants something. Maybe that is how your galaxy works," Sunwoo said quietly. "But I am human. We are different." Yuri laughed. It was not a happy laugh. Humans are the weakest species in the sovereignty. Your planet is small and poor. Your technology is primitive. What could possibly make you think you were different? Sunwoo did not get angry. He understood why she thought this way. She was a princess. She had grown up surrounded by people who wanted to use her. Of course, she did not trust him. "When I was young," he said, "there was a fire in my village. A house was burning. Everyone said it was too dangerous to go inside. But there was a child trapped on the second floor. I could hear her crying." He paused, remembering. The memory was old, but it still felt fresh. "I went inside. I found the child and carried her out. The roof collapsed behind us. I was burned badly. I spent 2 months in the hospital." Yuri was quiet now. She was listening. "Later, people asked me why I did it. Why I risked my life for a stranger. I did not understand the question. A child was in danger. I could help. What else was I supposed to do?" He looked at Yuri directly. "That is who I am. That is who humans are. We help each other. We protect each other. We do not ask for rewards. We do not make deals. We simply do what is right." Yuri did not respond. She just looked at him with those glowing eyes. Something had changed in her expression, but Sunwoo could not tell what it was. Over the next few days, the princesses began to treat him differently. They stopped watching him with suspicion. Instead, they watched him with curiosity. Hyun asked him questions about Earth, about human history, about human culture. She seemed fascinated by everything he told her. When he explained how humans had survived ice ages and wars and plagues, she listened with wide eyes. "Your species has only existed for a short time," she said. "Yet you have survived so much. How?" "We are stubborn," Sunwoo said with a small smile. "We do not give up easily." Biora followed him around the ship like a shadow. She asked simpler questions. What was his favorite food? Did he have family? What was Earth like? She reminded him of a curious child, eager to learn about everything. He learned that she was the youngest princess, only 19 years old in human terms. She had never been outside Valoran space before this trip. The attack had been her first real experience with danger. She was still scared, but she was also trying to be brave. One night she came to him crying. She had another nightmare. Sunwoo did not know what to do. He was not good with emotions. He was not good with words. But he sat beside her and let her cry. He told her stories about Earth, about the oceans and the mountains, about the animals and the cities. He talked until her tears stopped and her breathing became steady. "Thank you," she whispered before falling asleep. Sunwoo covered her with a blanket and returned to his work. The most dangerous moment came on the 7th day. Sunwoo was in the cockpit when the sensors detected another ship approaching. His heart dropped when he saw what it was. A pirate vessel. Bigger than the raider ship. Better armed. "They are calling us," Yuri said. She was sitting in the co-pilot seat. "They want us to stop and surrender." Sunwoo looked at the star map. They were near an asteroid field. The asteroids were dense and dangerous. Most pilots avoided them. "Strap in," he said. "We are not surrendering." He pushed the engines to maximum speed and flew directly into the asteroid field. The next 20 minutes were the most intense of his life. Asteroids flew past the window. Some were the size of houses. Some were the size of mountains. Sunwoo's hands moved faster than he knew they could. He dodged left. He turned right. He dove down and climbed up. The pirate ship followed at first. But it was too big, too slow. After 5 minutes, it fell behind. After 10 minutes, it gave up. When they finally emerged from the asteroid field, Sun Wu's hands were shaking. He had not slept in 3 days. His wound was bleeding again. He felt like he might collapse at any moment, but they were alive. They were safe. Yuri looked at him with an expression he had never seen before. It was respect. True respect. "You did not even hesitate," she said. "You risked everything to protect us." "That is my job," Sun Wu said simply. "I promised to get you home. I keep my promises." Yuri was quiet for a long time. Then she reached out and touched his hand. It was a small gesture. A simple gesture. But it meant more than any words could say. "I was wrong about you," she said softly. "I was wrong about humans." Sun Wu nodded. He was too tired to speak. But inside, he felt something warm spreading through his chest. It was a good feeling. A feeling he had not experienced in a long time. 2 days later, they reached Valoran space. The Imperial fleet surrounded them immediately. 100 warships, each one bigger than anything Sun Wu had ever seen. They had made it. Against all odds, they had made it. Sun Wu looked at the 3 princesses. They were smiling. They were safe. They were going home. His job was done. But somehow, he knew that his story was just beginning. The Imperial fleet did not attack the Wanderer. This surprised Sun Wu. He had expected to be arrested, or at least questioned roughly. Humans were not welcome in Valoran space. No human had ever been allowed near the throne world. Instead, a calm voice came through his communication system. "Cargo vessel, prepare to be escorted. Do not deviate from the assigned path. The Emperor is expecting you." The Emperor! Sun Wu felt a chill run down his spine. He was about to meet the most powerful being in the galaxy. The trip to the throne world took 6 hours. During that time, the princesses prepared themselves. They washed with the limited water on the ship. They fixed their torn clothes as best they could. They brushed their hair and straightened their backs. But even as they prepared to return to their royal lives, they did not forget Sun Wu. "You will come with us," Yuri said. It was not a request. It was a command. "You will meet our father." "I am not sure that is a good idea," Sun Wu said. "I am just a cargo runner." "Your father probably wants to see you, not me." "You saved our lives," Hyun said firmly. "He will want to see the man who did that." Biora took his hand and squeezed it. "Please come with us. I do not want to say goodbye yet." Sun Wu looked at the 3 of them. In just 12 days, they had become more than passengers. They had become something like friends. He did not want to say goodbye either. "All right," he said. "I will come." The throne world was called Valora Prime, and it was the most beautiful place Sun Wu had ever seen. The planet was covered in silver forests and crystal lakes. The sky was purple and filled with 3 moons. Great cities rose from the ground, their towers reaching toward the stars. The Wanderer landed in the royal spaceport, surrounded by ships that were worth more than everything Sun Wu had ever owned. When he stepped outside, he felt very small, very ordinary. Very human. Guards in shining armor met them at the landing pad. They bowed to the princesses and looked at Sun Wu with confusion. No one seemed to know what to do with him. "He comes with us," Yuri said in a voice that allowed no argument. The guards obeyed. They walked through the Palace of Eternal Stars, and Sun Wu tried not to stare at everything. The halls were made of white stone that seemed to glow from within. Paintings and sculptures decorated every wall. The ceiling was so high that Sun Wu could barely see it. This was a place for gods, not for humans. Finally, they reached the throne room. The doors were 20 meters tall and made of pure gold. They opened slowly, revealing a room so large that it could have held Sun Wu's entire ship inside it. At the far end of the room sat Emperor Kale. He was old. Very old. His silver skin was pale and lined with age. But his eyes burned with power and intelligence. He looked at Sungwoo, and Sungwoo felt like his very soul was being examined. The three princesses ran forward. They dropped to their knees before their father, and for the first time since Sungwoo had met them, they looked like children. Young, vulnerable, happy to be home. "Father," Yuri said. Her voice was thick with emotion. "We have returned." The emperor rose from his throne and walked toward his daughters. He touched each of their faces gently. His expression softened. For a moment, he was not an emperor. He was simply a father who had almost lost his children. "I thought I had lost you," he said quietly. "When I heard about the attack, I feared the worst." "We were saved," Hyun said. She turned and pointed at Sungwoo. "By him." The emperor looked at Sungwoo. His eyes became hard again. The father disappeared, and the ruler returned. "A human," he said. There was surprise in his voice, but also suspicion. "A human saved my daughters." "Yes, your majesty," Sungwoo said. He bowed deeply, the way he had seen the guards bow. "My name is Park Sungwoo. I am a cargo runner. I heard your daughter's distress signal and came to help. Why?" The emperor's voice was cold. "What did you expect to gain?" Sungwoo raised his head and met the emperor's eyes. He knew he should look down. He knew he should be humble. But he was tired of explaining himself. Tired of defending his actions. "Nothing, your majesty. I expected to gain nothing. I helped because it was the right thing to do." The throne room was silent. Everyone was watching, waiting. A human had just spoken directly to the emperor without fear. It was unheard of. The emperor stared at Sungwoo for a long moment. Then, slowly, something changed in his expression. It was not a smile. It was not exactly approval. But it was something close to respect. "You saved my bloodline," the emperor said. "In my culture, that is a debt beyond measure. I would offer you a reward. Name anything you desire, and it shall be yours." Sungwoo thought about it. He could ask for money. He could ask for a new ship. He could ask for anything. But when he opened his mouth, only one thing came out. "I would like safe passage back to human space, your majesty. That is all." The court murmured in surprise. Even the emperor seemed taken aback. "You could have wealth, power, land, and you ask only to go home?" "I am a simple man, your majesty. I do not need wealth or power. I just want to continue my life." Before the emperor could respond, Princess Yuri stepped forward. Her face was determined. Her eyes were bright. "Father," she said, "I invoke the right of honor bond." The entire court gasped. Even the emperor's eyes went wide. Sungwoo did not understand what was happening, but he knew it was important. "Daughter," the emperor said slowly, "do you understand what you are doing? That right has not been invoked in 300 years. "I understand perfectly," Yuri said. "This man risked his life for us. He asked for nothing in return. He protected us when no one else would. Such a person deserves more than a simple reward. He deserves to be honored by our house forever." Hyun stepped forward and knelt beside her sister. "I support my sister's invocation. Park Sungwoo has earned this honor." Baora joined them, her young face serious. "I also support it. He saved us, father. He is family now." The emperor looked at his three daughters, kneeling before him. He looked at Sungwoo, this simple human who had done the impossible. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Then the emperor nodded. "The right of honor bond is invoked," he declared. His voice echoed through the throne room. "From this day forward, Park Sungwoo is bound to the imperial house of Valora. His fate is our fate. His honor is our honor. His enemies are our enemies." He looked directly at Sungwoo. "You are no longer just a human. Park Seung-woo. "You are part of my family now. Everything will change for you. I hope you are ready." Seung-woo stood there, surrounded by alien royalty, in a palace that should never have allowed him to enter. He had come here expecting to say goodbye. He had expected to return to his old life, his old ship, his old solitude. Instead, his entire world had changed. He looked at the three princesses. They were smiling at him. Yuri with pride, Ha-yoon with satisfaction, Biora with pure joy that he did not know what the future would bring. He did not know what this right truly meant. But he knew one thing for certain. He was not alone anymore. "I am ready," he said, and for the first time in many years, he meant it. 6 months had passed since the day in the throne room. Seung-woo stood in front of a mirror and barely recognized the man staring back at him. He was still human. Still Park Seung-woo. But everything else had changed. He wore fine clothes made from materials he could not name. His hair was cut in the Valoran style. His body, once thin from years of poor food and hard work, was now strong and well-fed. The wound in his side had healed completely, leaving only a small scar. "You look like a prince," said a voice behind him. It was Bar, watching him from the doorway with a playful smile. "I feel like a pretender," Seung-woo replied honestly. "You will get used to it," Baora said. She walked into the room and stood beside him. In 6 months, she had grown more confident. The nightmares had stopped. The fear had faded. She was becoming a true princess, strong and sure of herself. "My sisters are waiting for you," she added. "Today is important." Seung-woo nodded and followed her out of his room. His room. He still could not believe he lived in the imperial palace. He had his own quarters, larger than his entire cargo ship. Servants brought him food and cleaned his clothes. Guards saluted him when he walked past. It felt like a dream. Sometimes he expected to wake up back on the Wanderer, cold and alone. But it was not a dream. It was his new life. The three princesses had taken their duties seriously. They had promised to repay Seung-woo, and they were doing exactly that. Each of them had taken responsibility for a different part of his transformation. Yuri was in charge of making him a warrior. She took him to the military training grounds every morning. At first, the Valoran instructors had laughed at him. A human learning Valoran combat? Impossible. Humans were too weak, too slow, too fragile. Seung-woo proved them wrong. He could not match the Valorans in strength. He could not match their speed. But he had something they did not understand. He had endurance. He had stubbornness. He had the human ability to keep going when every part of his body screamed for him to stop. When other students rested, Seung-woo kept training. When other students went home, Seung-woo stayed late. He fell down 1,000 times. He got up 1,001 times. After 3 months, he beat his first Valora opponent in single combat. The young noble had been arrogant, certain of his victory. He had not expected Seung-woo to take hit after hit and keep coming forward. He had not expected Seung-woo to fight through pain that would have stopped anyone else. When the noble finally fell, the training ground went silent. Everyone stared at Seung-woo. This human, this weak primitive, had won. Yuri smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible. But Seung-woo saw it, and it meant more to him than any medal or trophy. "You have potential," she told him that night. "Real potential. You just needed someone to see it." Ha-yoon was in charge of making him a thinker. She took him to the Imperial Library every afternoon. She taught him Valoran law and history. She explained galactic politics and economics. She showed him maps of trade routes and taught him how empires rose and fell. At first, Seung-woo struggled. There was so much to learn. So many names and dates and facts. His head hurt from all the information, but Ha-yoon was patient. She never raised her voice. She never made him feel stupid. She simply explained things again and again until he understood. "You have a good mind," she told him one day. "You learn quickly. Most people cannot see patterns as fast as you can." "I am just a cargo runner," Sun-woo said. He still said that sometimes, even after 6 months. Ha-yoon shook her head. "You were a cargo runner. Now you are something more. Stop limiting yourself with old labels." She started including him in meetings. Small meetings at first. Trade discussions. Minor disputes between merchants. Sun-woo sat in the corner and watched. He listened. He learned. Then one day Ha-yoon asked for his opinion on a trade agreement. Everyone in the room stared. A human? Giving advice on Valoran trade? But Sun-woo had been paying attention. He'd pointed out a problem in the contract that everyone else had missed. A small clause that would give the other party too much power. Ha-yoon smiled and canceled the agreement. After that, people started to take him seriously. Byura was in charge of making him a member of society. She took him to parties and gatherings. She introduced him to nobles and merchants. She taught him how to talk to people, how to bow correctly, how to eat at formal dinners without making mistakes. This was the hardest part for Sun-woo. He was not good with people. He preferred silence to conversation. He preferred solitude to crowds. But Byura never gave up on him. "Smile," she would whisper during parties. "You look scary when you do not smile." "I am smiling," Sun-woo would whisper back. "That is not a smile. That is a threat." Slowly, Sun-woo learned to relax. He learned to make small talk. He even made a few friends among the younger nobles. They were curious about him, this strange human who had saved the princesses. Some of them genuinely liked him. Of course, not everyone was happy about his presence. There were many nobles who hated him. They called him a pet, a curiosity, a temporary amusement for the princesses. They believed he would soon be forgotten and sent back to human space where he belonged. Sun-woo ignored them. He had faced worse things than insults. He had faced raiders and pirates and death itself. A few angry words could not hurt him, but he noticed the whispers. He noticed the dark looks. He knew that not everyone wanted him to succeed. One evening, he was walking through the palace gardens when a group of young nobles blocked his path. There were 5 of them, all from powerful families. Their leader was a tall Valoran named Lord Tyke, who was known for his hatred of outsiders. "The human pet," Lord Tyke said with a sneer. "Walking around our palace like he belongs here. It disgusts me." Sun-woo said nothing. He waited. "Perhaps we should teach you your place," Lord Tyke continued. "Perhaps we should remind you what you really are. A primitive, a weakling, an insect pretending to be one of us." Sun-woo looked at Lord Tyke calmly. "I have no quarrel with you, my lord. Please let me pass." Lord Tyke laughed. "Listen to it. So polite. So well-trained. The princesses have taught their pet good manners." Something cold settled in Sun-woo's chest. He did not like being called a pet. He did not like the way Lord Tyke spoke about the princesses, but he controlled himself. Violence would only make things worse. "I will ask once more," Sun-woo said quietly. "Please let me pass." Lord Tyke stepped forward, his face twisting with anger. "Or what? What will you do, human? You are nothing. You are—" He never finished his sentence. A voice cut through the garden like a blade. "Lord Tyke, step away from him, now." It was Yuri. She stood at the edge of the garden, her eyes burning with cold fury. Behind her stood Ha-yoon and Byura, equally angry. Lord Tyke's face went pale. He bowed quickly and stumbled away, his friends following him. Yuri walked to Sun-woo. Her expression softened slightly. "Are you all right?" "I am fine," Sun-woo said. "You did not need to rescue me." "I know," Yuri said. You could have handled them yourself. But you are not alone anymore, Sung-woo. You have family now. Family protects each other. She turned and walked back toward the palace. Ah-yoon followed her, giving Sung-woo a small nod. Baora stayed behind for a moment. She squeezed his arm gently. You are not a pet, she said. You are our friend. Our brother. Never forget that. Then she too was gone, leaving Sung-woo alone in the garden. He looked up at the purple sky and the three moons. He thought about how far he had come. From a lonely cargo runner to a member of the imperial family. From an outsider to someone who mattered. The transformation was not complete. There was still so much to learn. So much to prove. But for the first time in his life, Sung-woo believed in himself. He was ready for whatever came next. 1 year had passed since Sung-woo's arrival on Valora Prime. The Festival of Stars was approaching, the biggest celebration in the Valoran calendar. The entire planet was preparing for weeks of feasts, ceremonies, and gatherings. The Emperor would appear publicly, something that happened only during this festival. Sung-woo was now a different man. He moved through the palace with confidence. He spoke to nobles without fear. He could fight better than most Valoran soldiers. He could negotiate trade deals that impressed even Ha-yoon. But he had not forgotten where he came from. He still visited the Wanderers sometimes, sitting in the old cockpit and remembering his former life. He still thought like a cargo runner. He noticed things that others missed. He trusted his instincts, and his instincts were telling him that something was wrong. It started with small things. Whispered conversations that stopped when he approached. Nobles gathering in unusual groups. Servants acting nervous and scared. Sung-woo mentioned his concerns to Yuri. You are being paranoid, she said. The Festival of Stars always makes people act strangely. There is nothing to worry about. But Sung-woo was not convinced. He started paying closer attention. He followed suspicious nobles. He listened at doors. He gathered information piece by piece, like putting together a puzzle. What he discovered made his blood run cold. There was a conspiracy. A group of powerful nobles, led by Lord Tyke, were planning to assassinate the Emperor. They intended to kill him during the Festival of Stars, when security would be focused on the crowds. They would frame humans for the murder, claiming that Sung-woo was a spy who had infiltrated the imperial family. The result would be catastrophic. The Valoran Imperium would declare war on humanity. Earth would be destroyed. Billions of humans would die, and Sung-woo himself would be executed as a traitor. He went to Ha-yoon first. She listened carefully to everything he said. Do you have proof? She asked. Not yet, Sung-woo admitted. Only what I have seen and heard. It is not enough. Then we need more, Ha-yoon said. Her face was serious. If we accuse nobles without proof, we will be seen as the criminals. We need solid evidence. They came up with a plan. Sung-woo would infiltrate the conspirators' secret meeting. He would record their plans. He would bring back the evidence they needed. That it was dangerous. If he was caught, they would kill him. But there was no other choice. The night of the Festival of Stars arrived. The palace was filled with light and music. Thousands of guests danced and celebrated. The Emperor sat on his throne, surrounded by guards. No one noticed Sung-woo slip away from the party. He had spent 3 days learning the conspirators' routines. He knew they would meet in an abandoned tower on the eastern edge of the palace. He had prepared a small recording device hidden in his sleeve. He had a knife hidden in his boot. He moved through the shadows like a ghost. Years of cargo running had taught him how to be invisible when necessary. He reached the tower and climbed the old stairs carefully, avoiding the steps that would creak. Voices drifted down from above. Many voices. The conspirators were already gathered. Sung-woo pressed himself against the wall and listened. Tonight the Emperor dies, Lord Tyke was saying. Our agent is in position. At midnight, when the fireworks begin, it will happen. And the human? Another voice asked. He will be blamed, Lord Tyke laughed. We have planted evidence in his quarters, weapons, communication records with human terrorists. When the Emperor falls, guards will find the human standing over the body. He will be executed before he can speak. What about the princesses? They are young and foolish. Once their father is dead and their pet is executed, they will accept our guidance. Yuri will marry my son. Haiyun will support our policies. Biora is too young to matter. Sunwoo felt rage burning in his chest. These nobles planned to kill the Emperor, destroy humanity, and control the princesses. They saw him as a convenient tool for their schemes. He had heard enough. He started to creep back toward the stairs. His foot hit something on the floor. A loose stone. It made a sound. The voices above went silent. What was that? Sunwoo ran behind him. He heard shouts and footsteps. The conspirators were coming after him. He flew down the stairs and burst out of the tower into the night. He had to reach Haiyun. He had to warn the Emperor. He had to. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Then another. And another. Guards. A dozen of them. But they wore different uniforms. They were not imperial guards. They were personal guards of the noble houses. The conspirators' guards. The human spy, one of them said. Lord Tyke was right. He would come snooping. Sunwoo drew his knife. It was a small weapon against so many enemies. But he would not surrender. He would not give up. I do not want to fight you, he said. But I will if I must. The guards laughed. They drew their weapons and advanced. The fight was brutal. Sunwoo was outnumbered and outmatched. The guards were trained killers. They had energy blades and armor. He had a knife and his bare hands. But he also had something they did not expect. He had human endurance. He had months of Valoran combat training. He had desperation. The first guard attacked with an overhead swing. Sunwoo dodged and stabbed him in the arm. The guard screamed and dropped his weapon. Sunwoo grabbed it and kept moving. Another guard came from the left. Sunwoo blocked the attack and kicked him in the knee. The guard fell. Sunwoo hit him in the head with the stolen weapon. But there were too many. A blade caught his shoulder, cutting deep. Another hit his leg. Pain exploded through his body, but he did not stop. He kept fighting. He kept moving. He kept surviving. One guard managed to grab him from behind. Sunwoo threw his head back, smashing the guard's nose. Another guard stabbed at his stomach. Sunwoo twisted at the last moment, taking the blade in his side instead of his gut. 5 guards were down. 7 remained. Sunwoo was bleeding from a dozen wounds. His vision was blurry. His body screamed for him to stop. He thought about the princesses. He thought about Earth. He thought about all the innocent people who would die if he failed. He raised his weapon and kept fighting. By the time Imperial guards finally arrived, only 2 conspirator guards were still standing. They fled when they saw the Imperial uniforms. Sunwoo collapsed against a wall. He was covered in blood, both his own and others. He could barely breathe. He could barely see, but the recording device in his sleeve was still working. It had captured everything. Haiyun rushed toward him, her face pale with fear. Sunwoo, stay with me. The device, Sunwoo gasped. In my sleeve. Their plans, everything. Haiyun grabbed the device and handed it to an Imperial officer. Take this to the Emperor immediately. It contains evidence of a conspiracy against his life. The officer bowed and ran. Yuri appeared beside him, her eyes filled with tears. She never cried. Sunwoo had never seen her cry. You fool, she whispered. You stupid brave fool. Had to stop them, Sungwoo managed to say. Could not let them hurt you. Could not let them destroy Earth. You almost died. Almost is not dead. Yuri laughed through her tears. It was a broken sound, full of fear and relief and something else. Something deeper. You are staying alive, she said. I forbid you to die. Do you understand? Sungwoo remembered another time she had said those words. On his cargo ship, a year ago, when he was bleeding from a knife wound. Yes, princess, he whispered. Then the darkness took him. When he woke, he was in the palace medical wing. Ha-Yun was sitting beside his bed, reading a report. She smiled when she saw his eyes open. The conspirators have been arrested, she said. All of them. Lord Tyke tried to flee, but was captured at the spaceport. The Emperor has seen the recording. He knows everything. And the plot against humans? Exposed. The Emperor is furious. He has declared that humanity is under Imperial protection. Anyone who threatens Earth threatens the Valoran Imperium. Sungwoo closed his eyes. He felt relief washing over him like a warm wave. You saved us again, Ha-Yun said softly. You saved everyone. I was just doing what was right, Sungwoo said. Ha-Yun shook her head. No, you were doing what only you could do. Being human. Being Park Sungwoo. She took his hand and held it gently. Rest now, she said. You have earned it. Sungwoo did not argue. He was too tired, too hurt, too happy. He closed his eyes and slept, knowing that when he woke, the galaxy would be different. And he had made it so. 1 year after the conspiracy, the galaxy gathered for the Galactic Assembly. Representatives from 1,000 species came to the great meeting hall on the neutral world of Centrum. They came to discuss trade and treaties. They came to settle disputes. They came to see the future of the galaxy. But this year, they also came to witness history. Park Sungwoo stood in his quarters, preparing for the most important day of his life. His clothes were elegant but simple. He wore no jewelry except for a small pin on his chest. The pin showed two symbols together, the Valoran royal seal and a small blue circle representing Earth. Someone knocked on his door. Come in, he said. The three princesses entered. They looked magnificent in their formal robes. Yuri wore white, the color of leadership. Ha-Yun wore silver, the color of wisdom. Biora wore gold, the color of hope. You look nervous, Biora said with a teasing smile. I am terrified, Sungwoo admitted. I am about to speak in front of the entire galaxy. You will do fine, Ha-Yun said. She handed him a document. I have prepared notes for you. Key points to remember. Important names and phrases. Sungwoo took the document and smiled. Even now, after everything, Ha-Yun was still teaching him. Thank you, he said. For everything. For the past 2 years. For believing in me. Ha-Yun's formal expression softened. Thank you for giving us something to believe in. Yuri stepped forward. She looked at Sungwoo with those burning eyes, the same eyes that had once looked at him with suspicion. Now they held only respect and affection. Today, you will speak for humanity, she said. You will tell the galaxy who your people really are. Not weak, not primitive, not insignificant, but brave and kind and unstoppable. And if I fail? Yuri smiled. It was a real smile. Warm and proud. You will not fail. You never fail. It is not in your nature. She reached out and adjusted his collar, making sure it was perfect. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. My father is stepping down from some of his duties, she said. He is preparing me to become empress. When that day comes, I will need advisors I can trust. People who will tell me the truth, even when it is hard. People who will protect me and our empire. She met his eyes. I want you to be my royal protector and chief advisor. Will you accept? Sungwoo felt his heart swell. Royal protector. Chief advisor to the future empress. A human in the highest position any outsider had ever held. I accept, he said. Biora clapped her hands happily. I knew you would say yes. Hayu nodded with satisfaction. I have also made arrangements. You will have a seat on my strategic council. The galaxy is changing, and we need human perspectives to understand the future. You will not regret this, Sungwoo said. We know, all three princesses said at once. They laughed together. Like the family they had become. The Galactic Assembly Hall was enormous. Thousands of seats rose in circles around the central platform. Every seat was filled with representatives from different species. Some were tall and thin. Some were short and wide. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had features that Sungwoo could not even describe. And all of them were watching him. Emperor Kale stood at the central platform, his voice carrying across the vast hall. 2 years ago, he said, my daughters were attacked by raiders. They would have died if not for the courage of one man. A human man. A cargo runner named Park Sungwoo. Whispers spread through the crowd. Many species still looked down on humans. They could not believe a human had done anything worthy of this ceremony. He saved my daughters, the emperor continued. He exposed a conspiracy against my life. He nearly died protecting our empire. And he asked for nothing in return. The emperor turned and looked at Sungwoo, who stood at the edge of the platform. Park Sungwoo stepped forward. Sungwoo walked to the center of the platform. He could feel thousands of eyes on him. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on his shoulders. But he was not afraid. Not anymore. I name you ambassador of humanity to the Valoran Imperium, the emperor declared. You will speak for your people. You will represent your species. You will be the bridge between our worlds. The emperor handed Sungwoo a small staff made of crystal and silver. It was the symbol of an ambassador, one of the highest honors in the galaxy. Speak now, the emperor said. Tell the galaxy about humanity. Sungwoo looked out at the assembly. He saw curiosity on some faces, doubt on others, hostility on a few. He thought about his journey, the cargo ship, the rescue, the long journey home, the training and the learning, the conspiracy and the fight. Everything that had brought him to this moment. He began to speak. I am Park Sungwoo. I am a human. 2 years ago, I was nobody. A cargo runner scraping by in the outer rim. I had no power, no wealth, no importance. Most species in this galaxy would not even notice me. He paused, letting his words settle. When I heard a distress signal from a ship under attack, every logical thought told me to ignore it. I was alone. I was unarmed. I would probably die if I tried to help. He looked at the 3 princesses who stood with their father. But I went anyway, because that is what humans do. We help, we protect. We sacrifice ourselves for others, even strangers. Even people who would look down on us. Even people who think we are weak. His voice grew stronger. The galaxy sees humans as primitives, newcomers, insects among giants. And maybe that is true. We are young. Our technology is simple. Our world is small. He raised his head high. But we are not weak. We survived ice ages that covered our planet. We survived wars that killed millions. We survived plagues that wiped out whole populations. Every time we were knocked down, we got back up. Every time we faced extinction, we found a way to survive. The assembly was completely silent now. Every being was listening. That is the truth of humanity. We do not give up. We do not surrender. We keep fighting, keep trying, keep believing, no matter how bad things get. That is our strength. That is what makes us human. He looked directly at those who watched him with hostility. Some of you fear us. Some of you want to destroy us. But I tell you now, you will fail. Not because we are stronger than you. Not because we are smarter than you. But because we will never stop. We will keep coming, generation after generation, until we stand as equals among the stars. He turned back to the Emperor. I am honored to serve as the bridge between humanity and the Valoran Imperium. I promise that I will work for peace and friendship between our peoples. I promise that I will represent my species with dignity and courage. He bowed deeply. Thank you for this chance. I will not waste it. The assembly was silent for a long moment. Then Princess Biora started to clap. Princess Hyun joined her. Then Princess Yuri. Then the Emperor himself. Slowly the applause spread through the assembly. Species that had never clapped before tried to imitate the sound. Others made their own gestures of approval. The noise grew and grew until it filled the entire hall. Sunwoo stood at the center of it all, surrounded by the sound of 1,000 species acknowledging him, a human. An equal. After the ceremony, Sunwoo stood on a balcony overlooking the city of Centrum. The 3 princesses joined him. You did well, Yuri said. Very well. I just told the truth, Sunwoo replied. Sometimes the truth is the most powerful thing, Hyun said. Baora linked her arm through his. What happens now? Sunwoo looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home. The planet that had made him who he was. Now we work, he said. We build bridges. We make friends. We change the galaxy, one day at a time. That sounds like a lot of effort, Baora said. It is, Sunwoo agreed. But that is what humans do. We put in the effort. We do the work. And eventually, we succeed. Yuri stood beside him, her shoulder touching his. You really believe that, she said. You really believe humanity can change the galaxy? I do not just believe it, Sunwoo said. I know it. Because I have seen what one human can do. Imagine what billions of us can accomplish. Yuri smiled. It was a beautiful smile, full of hope and trust. Then I look forward to seeing it, she said. They stood together on the balcony, watching the stars. The future was uncertain. There would be challenges and enemies and obstacles. Nothing would be easy, but Sunwoo was not worried. He had started as a lonely cargo runner with nothing but an old ship and a stubborn heart. Now he was an ambassador, a royal protector, a member of the most powerful family in the galaxy. And he was just getting started. The stars twinkled above him, vast and endless and full of possibility. Once, they had seemed cold and distant. Now they felt like a promise of adventures to come, of friendships to be made, of a future where humanity would stand among the greatest species in existence. Sunwoo smiled. He had answered a distress call 2 years ago. He could have ignored it. He could have stayed safe and small and forgotten. But he had chosen to help, and that single choice had changed everything. For him, for the princesses, for humanity itself. That was the lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. One act of kindness. One moment of courage. That was all it took to change your fate forever.